everyone for coming today, and that so many small business owners are here to show their support. I want to go to Washington and show my support of them, because we are in difficult economic times. We are in a crisis, and I believe that the best thing the government can do is to get out of the way of the small business owner, get out of the way of the entrepreneur, and let them do what they do best. So specifically what that means is rolling back the regulation and the tax burdens that prevent their businesses from growing. I want to go down to Washington this November and fight that massive tax increase that's coming. Delawareans and all of America, quite frankly, are facing the largest tax increase in U.S. history. The next senator from Delaware will go to Washington this November and vote on whether or not those tax increases happen. I want to fight to stop all of them. My opponent has had no less than 4 public positions on what he will do, but one of the most consistent positions he's had is to allow the tax increases to hit the top 2% of earners. He's ignoring the fact that according to the NFIB, small business owners are hit by that top 2%. Small business owners fall under that top 2%. And according to the NFIB, small businesses have created two-thirds of the net new jobs in the last decades. Two-thirds. So raising taxes on the top 2% brackets specifically targets small business owners and creates a disproportionate way that they're going to be hit. Whether they're the business owners that employ 20 people or 250 people. We should not be raising taxes on the job creators. Now is not the time to raise taxes. Historically, America has been in these difficult times before, but she's always come out. And whether it's through under a Republican president or a Democratic president, it's been the actions of the government that has dictated whether or not we stay in the difficulty or we climb our way out. Cutting taxes and cutting spending should not be a partisan effort. It's worked under Democrats, it's worked under Reagan. Republicans have strayed from that principle. Democrats have strayed from that principle. But what this Congress needs to do, what this administration needs to do, is fight for policies that empower the small business owner, that create an environment in which people can be innovators and take an idea, add hard work, and create a thriving business from which they can provide for their family. So specifically what I'm proposing is, number one, make sure these massive tax increases coming in January do not happen. I'm also proposing that Congress enact a temporary 2-year tax holiday on the capital gains tax. That'll give people and business owners the capital they need to reinvest in their business. When you have the capital to reinvest in your business grows. When your business grows, you need to hire people to sustain that growth. That's how we create jobs based on private business. I'm also proposing that we lower the corporate tax rate. We've got one of the highest tax rates in the developed world. We should not be punishing the job creators with such burdensome taxes. I'm also proposing that we permanently eliminate the death tax. The death tax is going to be reinstated on January 1st. That's not on the agenda of this lame duck Congress this November, to stop it from being reinstated. If the death tax is reinstated, it's going to destructively impact Delaware's farmers and Delaware's family-owned businesses. Because farmers especially are very asset-rich but cash-poor businesses. Farming is one of the main industries, aside from our state government, it's the main industry here in Delaware. The death tax will not only create 1.5 million jobs, but it'll help business owners to keep the jobs in the businesses that are already in existence. So no family should be worrying about losing their business when they're already worrying about the loss of a loved one. The death tax is unjust. From the IRS's own website, it says, the purpose of this tax is to raise revenue, redistribute wealth, and prevent the concentration of wealth. That is from the IRS's website as to the purpose of the death tax. That should be reason enough to eliminate it. But these business owners, these families, paid taxes while they earned their income. They paid taxes while they saved it. Their families should not have to pay taxes to the tune of 55 to 60% just because they had the responsibility and the discipline to prepare for the future. I say without a sense of shame that mine is the first generation of Americans to leave the country in a worse financial situation than in which they found it. It's going to take the discipline and the planning ahead and the hard work of business owners to get our country back on track. We should not be enacting taxes that prohibit that kind of behavior, that prohibit economic growth based on the private business. So in this election, there's a clear difference between my opponent and me. If you're paying attention during the debates, every one of his solutions, whether it's how do we fix the school system to how do we fix the economy, his answer is more government spending. The common sense men and women in this room know that that is not sustainable. The men and women who are up here, part of the Small Business Owners for O'Donnell Coalition, know that you cannot continue to spend beyond your means. You can't spend your way to recovery and then tax your way to prosperity and expect that to be able to balance your budget. Doesn't work for business owners, it's not going to work for the government. So again, the best thing that we can do to get our economy back on track is for the government to get out of the way of the small business owner, get out of the way of the entrepreneur, and let them do what they do best. Unleash the power of the entrepreneur spirit onto this hurting economy and watch what happens. We chose this location so that as people come here, they can see the empty storefronts that are out there, and you can have a visual of what's going on in our economy. I think if we have people in Washington who are committed to doing what is right, who are committed to fighting for the policies that are right for the interests of the Delawareans as opposed to the special interests of Washington, we can very quickly see these storefronts fill up once again. It's the economic uncertainty that is creating much of the stalemate, the stagnation that we have right now, because businesses aren't sure what to do. So we need a senator who is certain about what they're going to do when they get to Washington. Now, again, on that argument that we can't afford to not raise taxes on the top 2% earners, on the small business owners, well, we spent nearly $1 trillion in the so-called stimulus bills, and projections show that we've lost anywhere from 2.5 million jobs to up to 4 million. I saw 4 million jobs, a recent report said. However, that revenue that we would get by increasing taxes on the top 2% is still less than what we spent on the stimulus bill. So it doesn't make sense. There is no argument for raising taxes on anybody right now, especially small business owners.
I'm C.B. Joe. I have a small business here in Delaware. We've been in business for 38 years. We're pretty much where the rubber meets the road. We sell TVs, appliances, and we do servicing. And it's fair to say, we compete with the big box stores. We're like the David versus the Goliath. And it's fair to say, though, that all businesses, big and small, is down. Our business is down about 20%. The customers are pretty much about the same. The number of customers that we've had over the last year or two have pretty much been the same, but the volume is down about 20% because the customer is just simply spending less. And they're spending less because they're afraid of the future. And they're spending less because they don't have as much. And they're just worried about what's going to happen in the future for their taxes and so on. I believe that our government right now in Delaware is represented by a president and a congressman and a senator that have the same philosophy. So to me, it's not whether it's Republican or Democrats. It's a matter of the thinking. We've got to change the philosophy of the person who goes and represents Delaware.